Defined Object Security, also known as UDO Security or UDOs. Today's webinar will be presented by Jean-Paul Savalli, a Senior CNC Consultant at ERP-One Consulting. Before we get started, we'd like to remind you that our webinar is being recorded and that all attendees will be muted during the webinar. However, we would love to hear from you once Jean-Paul has completed his presentation. Please feel free to enter your questions in the question box at any time so we can address you once the question period begins. JP, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sue, and hello, good morning and good afternoon for those of you that are further east. Welcome to this webinar on User-Defined Object Security, also known as UDOs. So to keep it simple, I will use the term UDOs. We will understand it's a long term. But anyway, my name is Jean-Paul Savalli, as Sue mentioned, and I'm a senior technical consultant at ERP-One. I have about 19 years of experience in the GD technical field, and still counting, believe it or not. I've been involved in quite a few GD implementations, upgrades, migrations, and also security strategies. But let me take a quick moment to introduce ERP-One, who we are, and how we can help you. So all our team members are ERP experts. That includes our founders and managing partners. They have developed the best practices, procedures, methodologies that really set up apart in the industry. We are also excellent communicators and project managers. We are not just technically knowledgeable. We can also interact at all levels with employees. We are an employee-based company. We attract and we retain the best people in our industry. We are about 90% employee-based with near zero turnover, and that gives you a consistently excellent experience. We have one of the largest in-house CNC in North America, in-house GD technical consulting team, I mean. We operate around the globe and have offices throughout North America, the UK, and South Africa. And that ensures that we can provide you with a wide service coverage area, 24/7, 365 days a year support. So how we can help you? We can help you in maintaining and optimizing your current system. And why don't you let us be the ones to keep on top of current trends and advise you on updates and upgrades to avoid any draining time and resources. We'll make sure that the best practices and methodologies are followed. We can also help you in unlocking the value and potential of your investments. We can extend the power of your ERP system to move your business forward using our expertise in customization and integration. Finally, we sort through the noise to find out what's best for you. As your trusted advisor, we can uncover the hidden possibilities in your system so you can really concentrate on what you do best. So why work with us? Well, I think, first things are people. Our flexibility and values make us really stand out from the crowd. Our people have already talked about our experience. They are in all areas of GD, including project management. Our flexibility, we are wired to be both nimble and flexible. We've carefully developed our processes to adapt to your needs so that way we can create a custom fit that works for you. We are also highly responsive. Our team moves really quickly and delivers action when you need it. And finally, and not the least, our values. We value and invest in long-term relationship. We want to understand your business, know what success means to you, and achieve it. So what's on the agenda today? I'll go through this very quickly. Our agenda today will cover the following points. UDOs overview. I will give you a very brief overview of what UDOs are and what's required to enable them in your environment. This will be beneficial for those of you that are not so familiar with UDOs. The security process steps will be next on our agenda. I will describe to you the various steps you need to take to secure UDOs. Security type, I will address the different type of UDO security and explain how they fit in within the GD overall security framework. And I'll be touching on security best practices and recommended approach to implement UDO security. And last but not least, I think the fun part for everybody, I will be doing a quick demo and show you how to navigate through the various security screens while securing a couple of UDOs for an AR manager role. So let's begin. So there are many definitions for UDOs out there, and I found the following one, which I think best describe what UDOs are in relation to security. So I'll let you read it. Over the past recent years, Oracle has really put the effort into empowering users to control their own destiny, in a sense, by allowing them to create their own objects without any need for development. Users can now create basic UDOs on the fly, which allow them to control the way they want the information to be displayed in the application form, the way data is filtered in a grid form, or even the way the information is displayed in their own page through dashboard or single compose page. So there are about 18 types of UDOs so far as of tool release 9.2.2.2, and they keep on growing. To date, Oracle has delivered about 50 pre-built roles-based solutions across the portfolio of JD products, and they include also 1,700 plus pre-built UDOs that you could take advantage of right now. So I split the UDOs in two categories. The core UDO category lists the most popular UDOs among users. I will not go through all of them, but one of the most popular ones are grid formats, queries, watchlist, personal forms, E1 page, composite page. As far as the Orchestrator Studio UDOs goes, they are usually created by business analysts through the Orchestrator Studio. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the Studio is a tool designed for power users to allow them to enable external application or data to interact directly with JD Edwards. This tool does not really require any development skills unless users get into complex integration and automation. So business analysts can create UDOs such as nullification, orchestration, form requests, and so on. So having said that, if you look at this overview, it does raise some questions. It's great that users can massively create their own UDOs and share them, but how can you as an organization address your security concern around sharing and assigning UDOs to proper roles with the right permissions? Well, I think the good news is that JD has its own UDO security and approval processes, and if you use them properly, those concerns should no longer exist. So what is UDO security and how does it fit in the overall JD security framework? UDO security is built on top of the E1 standard object security. It operates at a high level. It has its own security table with its own security and approval application. UDOs are environment specific and they are stored in their own central objects tables. They can be managed through the Web Object Management Workbench application, which is specific to UDOs only. This means that UDOs can be initially created in DV and permitted all the way to production following the standard change management cycle. One thing to remember is that object security will always take precedence over UDO security. So for example, if a role is given access to UDO query, the query will only run if the role has permissions to the table from which the query is based on. UDO security steps. What is the actual logical flow of enabling or securing UDOs? UDOs follow all the same process at the exception of composite page and Cafe-One, which requires additional steps that I will discuss this in a later slide. First off, you will need to make sure that UDO security features are enabled, and you will have to make sure that they're active in your system. Feature security is a wide system settings. You will then need to grant security action to role or specific users to allow them to create edit, modify, and publish UDOs. UDOs who have been granted the proper action security access can then create their own UDOs for their own use. They can also make them available to others by making a request to publish them to other roles or users. An approver who has been granted specific access to manage UDOs and can review and approve or even reject them. The approver makes the final call, and if approved, the UDOs get shared. So once shared, roles and users must be granted view actions to use the UDOs. So let me recap about what security components are. So we have a feature security component which allow a UDO type to be enabled or disabled at a system-wide level. There is an action security type which control what a user or role can do with UDOs. Security action must be set at a role or user level for each type of UDOs. Again, you can choose to have an open or closed security model by granting security action at the public level. Next, we have the UDO approval process, which controls the sharing of UDOs with other roles and users. And the approver must be granted access to the UDO administration applications to be able to manage them. The view access security must also be granted to users or roles to make them available for use. And finally, the security content, which is specific to composite page and CafeOne only, which I will explain on the next slide. So, enabling content security. The CafeOne and Compose page are a bit different than most UDOs. They have content within their page frame, and each content must be granted access for users or roles to use them. As you can see on this picture, CafeOne has usually embedded forms and generic URLs. And it is a two-step process to enable a CafeOne or a composite page. The first step is to grant view access to the page form or the main form itself. And the second step is to enable access for each type of content in the form. So the composite page follows the same security process as CafeOne. The only difference is that they can include more content types in their page frame. They can include one view report, classic E1 pages, springboards, which are linked to tasks, watch lists, and finally ADF application if there's a need for it. So what to expect actually without a well-defined security and process framework in place? Well, it's really easy to fall into the trap of not putting too much effort and thinking around UDO security. After all, UDOs really seems very harmless at first sight, and they are very easy to enable on the fly. So what you can expect without a well-defined security process in place, it's some kind of a chaos down the road. And there are some obvious risks associated with a lack of security control. The more you wait to react, and the more unmanageable UDOs will become over time. Your role definition, if not well controlled, may not be optimized and properly standardized for the end users. And that might impact somewhat their efficiency in their day-to-day jobs. The E1 system performance could also be badly impacted by sharing inefficient queries or E1 search without proper attention or testing. So in the next slide, we'll give you some kind of guidelines and best practices to follow. So, and there is absolutely no secret remedy, and it's all about starting on the right foot and getting back to the whiteboard for planning UDO security. We've seen it over and over again. It's all about planning and having good security process in place. So you will have to set up your team and define your key players first. And you have a team in place already that you can leverage. You can leverage your leisure and them for UDO security. You will also have to define your UDO security model based on your organization's policies, open doors or closed doors. there is no right and wrong as long as you have a good handle on your security. So again, on our side note, it's a fact that more and more companies choose a closed door model nowadays. But again, it's really up to you and to your policies. As long as you get a good handle of your security, there should not be any problem. The approval and UDO promotion process will need to be well defined as well. One of the key things to remember is to make sure that you understand clearly the key recommendation of your roles. So you can set up a spreadsheet and list the must-have UDOs for each of your roles that you want to have. You can also leverage the JD pre-build roles from JD to find any inspiration that makes sense to your organizations. The remaining 5% of this approach is just very straightforward executions. You will have to test before sharing them. You will have to approve, share, and set up UDO security and manage UDOs through MW. Again, it's a very type of basic executions, and really the real meat of it is in the planning. So other recommendations. So if you meet all the technical requirements for UDOs under 9.222, which is the latest, actually, the latest tool release, I will encourage you to download all the JD pre-built roles and UDOs from Change Assistance and upload them into a sandbox environment so that you can get familiar with the roles and play with them. It's actually something beneficial for you to go through so that you can really assess what those roles are and how you can leverage them in your own organizations. Stick to the 80-20 rules when defining your roles. Again, too many UDOs attached to a role can be very overwhelming and counterproductive. And most likely what we see in the field that's 80% of a role definition represent about 20% of the volume of UDOs generated by the end users. So be very selective and really apply to the roles what really matters. Like any good rules in security, we recommend to grant any security at the role level as much as possible and manage your user exception very tightly. Be very selective when it comes to access to public level. The next recommendation on our list is try to use as much as you can OMW. I know it's optional. There is way that you can manage UDOs without going through OMW, but Oracle and ourselves really encourage you to use OMW to be able to go through change lifecycle management process and promote those UDOs safely across your environment. So be on the watch for long queries, for E1 search and OVRs reports. Those UDOs are well known for impacting negatively your systems. So you should probably test them first in DV, and once tested, you can promote them all the way up to prod. So at this time, I will going through a quick demo, and hopefully I will reinforce some of the security aspects that I've just covered with you. I've already created a CafeOne page in the address book revision along with a query. And I will step you through the feature and action security first. Then I will go ahead and request my CafeOne inquiry to be published and shared. And I will approve and share my UDOs. And finally, I will make them available for my AR manager roles by granting the role, view, and content access. So just hang on for a moment. I will just switch to a quick demo. All right. So I'm going to log on to my JD environment, and as JD users or well-known users, I'm going to flip to F11. So I'll go first to the FastPass and access the security features. You can access those security features through the regular security workbench, P00950. From the form, you can actually access the feature security, and you can review all UDO types available in your system. You can enable and disable a UDO type by really clicking on the red circle by disabling them, or clicking on the red square by enabling them. So as you can see, I've got 18 UDOs here, and they all enable in my system. I'm going to exit out. I will go to the security action to check if my current admin roles or system roles have create and edit and modify UDO actions. So I'm going to check that quickly. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. I'm going to go from So under user-defined objects, you've got the 3 types of contents we talk about: content, action, and view. I will go into the action and verify that my system role has full access to edit, modify, or even delete UDOs. So as you can see, the system admin role across the board has full access to all UDO types and have full access to modify and edit any of the UDOs. I will quickly check the AR roles and see what kind of action this role has. The AR manager. So the AR manager response doesn't have anything. So any users in that role won't be able to create, edit, or modify anything. They'll be able to view UDOs available to them, queries available to them, if they've been granted access to use them, but they won't be able to do anything with us. So let's see if I can allow this AR manager role to create, modify, and edit any queries. So in that form, I will add an entry for it. I will specify the type of UDOs I want them to have action with. So you will have all UDOs listed on this. I will just specify the query for now. I will select the query, and for my role, and at this point, you have the options to have an open or close type of security models. But for this specific case, I will just grant my AP AR manager roles to have access to all, to be able to create AD queries on the address book application. And again, this role will have access to create queries on all forms and versions as well. So you can enable security by selecting the right access level, create, publish, modify, or you can also disable or enable queries action security by clicking on those icons. So here I'm going to enable this role to be able to create, edit, modify queries. I will select that, and I will check it again, see if the entry is okay. So this role now has the ability to really do whatever they want with queries. All right. So let me take a quick look at the Cafe-One application that I just created. So I'm going to go and exit out this screens. I'm going to go to the P01012 well-known application. Right. So here's the Cafe-One I created. As you can see, the Cafe-One has a few contents within the frame. On the right side, I've got an embedded form that calls the billing information. And at the bottom, I've got a URL that calls a generic billing website. I've also created a query that filters my data by customers. My query, I'm going to go to my query, the one that I created. It's called test sys query, and this query, as you can see, really has got a search type of equal to C to filter all my records for my customers. The layout, the Cafe-One layout, as you can see, has been created and is under personal. You see that? Personal means that I'm the only one that can use it. It's not shared yet, and it's not available to anyone. Same thing for my query. If I return back to my query, you can see that my query is under personal use. It's not shared yet. So if I want to make this query and this Cafe-One available to others, the first step I need to do is just to request those UDOs to be published. So I'm going to request my query test 6 to be published. And there is this little icon with an arrow on top. And if I click on it, it says request publish, and we'll click on it. And automatically that request will be sent to an approver to go through a review and approve it. And as you can see, my status now has changed from personal to pending approval, waiting for the approver to test that query and review it and approve it. The next step for me here is to do the same thing with the Cafe-One. So I'm going to just go ahead and request my Cafe-One to be published as well. And same thing, as you can see on the top of the screen, test Cafe 6 is my Cafe-One, and I will request it. I will request that form to be published. All right. So once done, then I can pretend that I'm myself the approver. I will have to go through the approver screen. So just bear with me for a moment. All right. All right. So I will go through the P9822U, which is the applications to manage UDOs. And usually this application is given access to approvers. So in that applications, you can filter your all your objects by type. So if I want to select Cafe-One, for example, the one I just created, I will just select the appropriate type, and it should show me all those ones that are shared or pending approval. Otherwise, you can also do it through object status, and in that case, I will just go ahead and look at all the pending approvals waiting for me to approve. As you can see, the two UDOs that I requested are in the pending approval mode and ready to be approved. But as an approver, what I will do first, I will probably review them first. I will probably go to my test Cafe-One first, see how it looks like. So it looks good, and once I review it, then I will approve it. So in that case, everything seems to be okay, and I will go ahead, go to form, to row, and approve it. So automatically the status changed from pending approval to shared. So this one is ready to be granted access to roles or users at this point. Same thing for the query. I will just go ahead and just approve that query. All right. All right. So there is one more step for this Cafe-One to be viewed. We also have to create a view action to make sure that Cafe-One can be specifically accessed to the URL. So I'll go again go through the P00950 and grant view access to that UDOs for my AR role. All right. I go to view access. So for now, we can take a quick look at it and see what kind of objects this role has access to. So obviously, this role doesn't have any Cafe-One Test 6. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just grant access to the Cafe-One Test 6 UDOs. All right, if I can do this. Oh, sorry, this is not Cafe-One. All right, the search. So you can actually filter, again, your search and have all your UDOs available on that screen. I will grant access to my role. For this specific application, which is the PU0112, which is the Cafe-One, where the Cafe-One is based from. And I will select, oh, just 1 second. All right, I think it was a little typo here. I will select my test Cafe 6 that I created earlier, and I will give it view access. I'm going to check that very quickly on the return and see if that entry exists now. As you can see, now the test sys Cafe-One page has been granted access to the role. I'm off to also do it for the query as well, so I will have to do the same type of access for the query that I just created. All right, here's my query. I will select my query and then grant view access my role. Again, you can see that both UDOs now, Cafe and queries, are enabled for the AR manager role. Because Cafe-One has contents in it, we'll also have to make sure that the content is enabled for Cafe-One. So we'll have to go through the same path to get to the contents. So we'll just go again to the P00950 form content. And at this stage, I will make sure that my roles, in this case, my role, APR manager, AR manager, has actually already the access to content. ER1 form generic URLs OBA, so you can see that this role has been already given access to the content. So to test this, I can, now that it's shared and viewed, I can go ahead and log off and log on under my test users to make sure that they can see this new Cafe-One under my role. So I'm just gonna go sign out. My test UDO is part of the AR manager role, and I will test it by logging into the same environment. I will call my address book application. And you can see I can select my layout, test sys Cafe-One, and my Cafe-One just appears like the way it's supposed to appear, like the way I created it. It seems to be functional. I can actually select any customers on the grid, and it will automatically display the billing information on the right side. So that's pretty much complete the step-by-step process of securing a UDO. I wonder at this point if you have any questions on your side.
I have a few questions that have come in. One is, does the query have to be on the main screen only?
Does the query have to be on the main screen only? Meaning, can we have more specifics around this question?
Let me see if I can, give me 1 second. So I can get a bit more.
I'm just trying to figure it out.
I'll see if he can ask the question himself. Here we go. Okay. Wahida, can you ask the question yourself? I've unmuted you.
Oh, I think we've got a little problem. So I'm going back to the Cafe-One page here. So, all right. Do you have any more specifics?
No, I have another question though from the same person. It says here, in your example, can we set up a query for billing info screen and make it appear in Cafe-One screen?
So the query I created was within the frame, right? So I can create any query at this point. So basically, when I create this form, and then you have to go to design forms, my query is actually a default query. So every time I run the P0112 applications, that query, if I go to design mode, and you'll see it, if I can get to it, just 1 second. So, all right. Yeah. So because that query is part of my default query, so every time I will run, or I will get to the E1 P0112 applications, automatically that query will be run when I call that address book, and will display only the security, the customer on the grid, right? So because my Cafe-One is linked to the billing informations with the AR. Every time I will open up my query, every time I open up my Cafe-One that I created, it will automatically default to that query and will display all the customers on that grid. Is it something is it clear, or is it something that you need more clarifications on?
I think that's it. Okay, here, I have it now. Just give me 1 second. Okay. We're on 9.2 tools, and we've uploaded classic E1 pages, but aren't seeing them. The tab shows, but no content. Have you seen this?
E1 pages.
Right. Yeah.
So they have, okay, so I'm trying to understand. So it's the E1 pages are going through the same process. So they have to be shared, right? That's the first thing. Though once they share, they have to be viewed. So there are only two actions possible that you can do. So it's either, you have a couple issues around this. So either it's a pure security issues where you don't either have shared or viewed bundled together, or you can have a UDC issue as well, for which you can prevent you from seeing them. So again, I would probably suggest you to go through the sort of a checklist, and we have a checklist that we can provide you to make sure that UDOs are well set up before even getting into security. So basically, it's going through, make sure that you've got all UDC setups secured and set up and secure properly. Make sure that you go through your security check. But basically, if you look at what UDO security is all about, the three processes: share UDOs first, give them actions, give them view security second, and third, if you've got a content, you will have to grant content access. So those are the three steps. So if something goes wrong with either ones, you won't be able to see your one page. But it can be more than that. It can be a UDC problems, UDC settings problems that you may have in your environment.
Okay. Wahida, can you try one more time? I tried to unmute you again. It might help. Let's see what I can hear. Okay, we have a question here. What is the difference between shared UDOs and published UDOs?
Well, it's a $10 million question. It is actually the same. So it's very confusing. But yeah, they could have called it share request or request sharing type of things. But it is actually the same.
Okay. I have seen that issue with classic pages. Make sure they have updated their Java. Oh, this is for the last question. So I have seen the same issue with classic pages. This is coming in from an attendee. Make sure they have updated their Java version and have the latest version of Page Generator. So that might help.
Yeah, again, I mean, when you when you check your security, your three-step process, then if this is not it, you really have to do with something else that are more related to technical issues or setting issues with the UDCs. That's the way I see most of the time in the field. So I usually, and I think we'll provide you on our website, we've got a white paper about this, which actually gives you a checklist of all the things you need to check to make sure that everything is set up properly first before getting into security.
Okay, and I have, if I create the Cafe-One for billing instructions for PO112, would it be possible to link that same Cafe-One to customer ledger inquiry? Let me read that again. Or do I have to create it for the PO3B program as well?
Yeah, the Cafe-One is driven by the application you're in. So like right now, the Cafe-One I created is actually based on the work with address. So basically, you will have to go to the application where you want Cafe-One to be displayed and create that Cafe-One on that application.
Okay. All right. And the question is, how do I filter the information in the connected screen? That was the more information.
Okay. So yeah, I can give you. Yeah, it's actually part of the. You need to, once you get granted access to create a Cafe-One or to edit a Cafe-One, you need to go to the design panel mode, which is edit form layout. I'm going to show you very quickly how it works. So you have to go through the edit form layout. And once you got this, you are kind of in the, just one second. So as you can see, I'm going to create a quick Cafe-One. All right. All right, so this is what you're asking for probably. I'm going to just one second, let's move this. All right, we're going to close this for a second. All right, so there we go. So this is my work with address.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so it's Wahida. So my question is, I've been trying to ask this question. So I know the query manager works in the main screen, but how do I make it like if the connected screen, how do I filter the information in the other screen in Cafe-One?
Yeah, so this is what I'm showing to you. I don't know if you can see my screen. So I created sort of a Cafe-One, layout with only one embedded form on the right. So I'm going to call my billing information. This is the form I want to be displayed on the right side of the screen. Right. So this is it. Right. So I'm going to use this billing information form. And you see here there is this dynamic link. So you will have to click on the dynamic link. And at that point, we will be able to do the mapping between the address book number of the billing form and what you have on your work address. So you're going to have to map it.
Right.
And you have to, with the address book number on the work with address book form. And at that point, you'll be able to save it. and any things that you select on the left side should automatically be updated on the right side.
Okay.
Right.
But on the right side, if I want to show only specific information, let's say we have one example where we want to show only the recurring billing for certain periods, and we have a query manager in recurring billing, but when we are connecting it to the lease details,
Right.
it's not picking up the query there.
That cafe one, all those queries are only driven by the work with address. That's all it does. There's the only context I can create a query here is within the work with address. So that's the limitation of it. You cannot have an external queries embedded in that cafe one page.
Okay, I got you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question, and it is: Are UDOs path code specific and are available in all environments in that path code?
Yes, they are. The UDOs are path code specific, meaning that they are stored in the central objects and they have their own tables. So you've got, once you start using UDOs, you can download them from the Channel Assistant and you can upload them to each environment. So at that point, your UDOs are available to you in each of those environments. So yes, they are environment specific, and you can use the OW web, Object Management Workbench web, to move them around path codes.
Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think we're... Oh, one more. Classic pages can be saved as a .zip folder and moved to a new instance. So that's more of a comment. Classic pages can be saved as a new .zip folder and moved to a new instance.
Right. Yes.
And I have okay, go ahead.
Yeah, UDOs are zip files. It's like most of UDOs are zip files, and you'll see if you go to Change Assistance, you can download them. You'll see them there. It's a bunch of zip files, and you're right. So E1 page follow the same thing. So you can download or you can extract a E1 page into a zip files and move it from one path code to another. Yes.
And a quick question from the same person who commented. Can you do the same with composed pages?
Yes. Composed pages are UDOs. And as a matter of fact, if you download all the pre-built UDOs for user experience from Oracle, all those composed pages are coming with .zip files that you upload to your environment.
Okay. Is there any recommended sizing for web servers when having UDO used instead of menus?
You're talking about UDO's E1 pages and compose page instead of menus?
Yeah. Is there any recommended sizing for web servers when having UDO instead of?
Yeah.
So having UDO used instead of menus. Sorry.
Well, yeah, UDOs. I don't know if you're familiar with. I think I've got a slide here that probably can tell you what the requirements are. Just one second. I think I put it. I'm gonna show you very quickly. I've got a quick slide. All right. Just give me bear a second anyway. So, all right, that slide. All right. So if you're interested about what you need to enable UDOs, and it's part of our recommendations here. Okay, here we go. So UDOs, you will need an Oracle WebLogic server with ADF runtime on it, and it requires any UDOs that are enabled will require an AIS web instance to operate. So in terms of what we recommend in the field when you use UDOs, and depending on how intense they are actually recommendations. What you need to do is to set up a dedicated HTML instance to take the load of the UDOs processing away from the actual Jazz instance where the users are logged on to do the their day-to-day job. So yes, UDOs, you will have to be careful when you set up UDOs, and specifically in the big environments, we do recommend to have a separate instance on the side to really take the load of all the processing of UDOs.
Okay, that's the last question that has come in. So I think unless there's any final questions, we're good.
Yeah, so if you really need to reach us, feel free to contact me, or we'll be able to give you a personal demo if you want to, and show you more about what UDO security is all about.
All right, thank you for attending, everyone. Once again, please contact Jean-Paul if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.